Hey guys, I'm here with Buzz Butters from B&B Custom Rods and MHX Tackle here. And what we're here to show you is what to do when you're going on a trip and you break an eye on your rod. What do you do? It could be a trip ruiner, and say you're out in Canada somewhere. There's no store you can go by to try to save the trip. Is there something we can do to try to rectify the damage done?
Sure is, Nick, and just like you said, you know, a lot of anglers put a lot of time and effort and money and enthusiasm into their trips.
Sure.
And to get it ruined by a guide that you stepped on or a tip top that you broke off, that really doesn't need to ruin the trip anymore. We're going to show you how to fix these rods on the water by removing the damaged guides, putting new guides on, and putting new tip tops on.
Is this going to require a bunch of special tools that I need on my boat?
Absolutely not. We're going to put a little tackle box together with tools for you and about $25 worth of guides and tip tops, and you're all set to go.
Awesome. Well, what do you got?
Well, what we've got here is we just put together a little toolbox, and there are many, many different guide frames out there, dozens upon dozens. So the secret to all this is if you're going to take a trip or do a overnight tournament someplace, go to your local rod builder or whoever repairs your rods and say, here are the rods I'm going to take. Order me the proper size guides and tip tops in case any of these guides fail. And then he can order the guides, he can order the tip tops, put it together with a little kit, and you're all set to go.
Well, thankfully, you're my builder, so I know you have what I need.
Yes, I do. If I can't, I'll call Mudhole and we'll get it. We'll be okay.
Excellent.
What we have in the kit is real simple. We've got a selection of tip tops and a selection of guides according to what is on your rods. We have safety razor blades, which we're going to use to remove the guides, the finish, and the thread with. We also have a cigarette lighter that we use to soften the finish with so that we can get through it with a razor blade. And we have a stick of tip top cement. And this is not ordinary hot glue. This is a cement that's made specifically for tip tops. It has a higher temperature melting point. So we're going to use that to put the tip tops on. To actually wrap the guides on, we have one or two options. We can cut up pieces of electrical tape. It stretches, it's very nice for putting on guides temporarily, but it does leave some residue on the blank, which makes it hard to clean up later. Or you can use what's called rescue tape, which is a silicone stretch tape. And a lot of boat owners have that in their boat already to fix holes in hoses and leaks and things like that.
Sure.
We've also got a scissors, and if you ever have had trouble getting two-piece rods apart, it's very easy. You take one of those rubber pads that you use to get the lids off of stuck jars with, and you can pull the two pieces of blank apart very easily.
Awesome. It just gives you that extra grip.
Tremendous amount of extra grip, yes. I would suggest, however, that there is a little bit of a learning curve with how to take a guide off. And I'd suggest that you practice this on some broken rods that you already have at home. We don't want to be damaging your expensive rods because you're doing this for the first time.
Sure.
And to take the guide off, it's really quite simple. What we've got here is a spin rod where the guide's been stepped on, and we want to remove this entire guide from this rod. You're going to see that there's a side where the guide foot is on, and there's a side of the blank where there is no guide foot, okay? We don't want the razor blade anywhere near the blank. We want the razor blade to be working on the top of the guide foot only. If you nick that blank or you cut that blank with a razor blade, catastrophic failure could occur and the whole rod would be ruined. So all you're going to do is you're going to take a cigarette lighter, and all you're going to do is warm this up. Yep. All you got to do is warm this up. We just want to soften the finish. We don't want to melt the finish. We don't want to do anything else to the finish but soften it up. When blanks are made, they're made with a heating process, and we don't want to exceed that heating process or we're going to damage the blank. Then you just simply turn it over, and I take a single edge razor blade and I push that razor blade right down the top of that guide foot. And I'm not touching the blank at all. I'm just touching the top of the guide foot. Once you get some of the thread off, you should be able to peel a lot of that off in big chunks. And you just remember, just stay on the guide foot, don't be cutting into the blank. Guide is off. Remove the rest of the thread, which is usually coated with a finish, so it comes off quite easily. Nope.
Now that's all thread that's coming off right there?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
wow.
They all guides are wrapped on with thread, and then a couple coats of finish are put over the top of it. It comes off like a chunk, but that's all thread that we've cut off of there. And you just take your replacement guide, and with whatever tape you're going to use, in this particular instance I'm going to use, I cut up some thin pieces of electrical tape. Electrical tape or the rescue tape works good. Just line it up where it's supposed to go and wrap it on. And with the electrical tape, you want to give it a bit of a stretch to hold it in place. Want to make those wraps nice and smooth. We don't want your line grabbing onto the edges of the tape when it's coming off your reel.
Oh, that looks great.
That guide's not going anywhere.
That's just electrical tape.
That's electrical tape. You can fish that your entire trip and it's going to hold.
Now, do you heat electrical tape at all to kind of shrink wrap it or anything, or is it just
No.
you prefer just to leave it alone as it?
Leave it alone, and the more stretch you can put into that tape, the tighter that guide is going to be on that rod.
Jeez, Pete.
Yeah. And if you use the rescue tape, that silicone tape, that stretches even more and you get an even tighter fit for it. So whichever one, this is a little on the expensive side, but if you keep this in there for your boat, then you've got it. You're good until you can take that back to your rod repair guy and have it put on properly with thread and a couple of coats of finish.
So it's probably a good idea whenever you are purchasing your custom rods and you're going to be planning your trip to contact your rod builder and have them assemble a little bit a kit for you to keep on your boat with all the eyes that you have for your rod to
exactly. There's so many different frames of guides now on rods that you could have one of these just set up for your musky rods. You could have one of these set up for your spin rods, fly rods. It doesn't matter.
If I did not have a kit on me and I had a couple of junk rods,
yes,
I can do the same with one of my other, with a different guide off a different rod that I didn't mind tearing apart.
Yes, you could. One thing you have to remember is this is key: is you have to cut on top of that guide foot for removing the thread and finish, not on the blank. Don't damage the blank. And we only used, as you saw, just enough heat to soften up that finish. If you're putting that cigarette lighter on there and it's starting to smoke, too much heat. Okay, you've got plenty on there. That's replacing a guide. That's all there is to it.
That was pretty easy.
That's very easy.
Very easy.
Let's just talk a little bit about tip tops.
Okay.
That's just a little bit different.
They're much smaller, a little bit more difficult. It looks like this.
Well, and they're glued on, so you've got to deal with that. You would remove the thread and the finish from the end the same way you did with the guides. Okay, but now that tip top that's glued on has to come off. On quality rods, they use a tip top epoxy, which I showed you before, which is right here. It's like a hot glue epoxy. Some of the overseas, less expensive rods will put a permanent epoxy on there. That's not going to come off then. Okay, but to find out whether or not it does, it's real simple. You heat it up the same way that you did that epoxy. Keep moving it around. We don't want to damage that blank until we get the heat to break the bond of the epoxy. Take a needle nose pliers and just pull straight and pop it right off. Take your safety razor blade, scrape off any excess epoxy that's on there. Then with a cigarette lighter and the epoxy, heat up the end of your epoxy stick, rub it on there, put your new tip top on, and you're ready to go.
Excellent. And
it's going to hold. When you get it back to your rod repair guy, he can then wrap it with thread and put a coat of finish on there for a little extra stability.
And give you your rod back.
And give you your rod back to fish. That's all there is. But you got to remember, if you break off the tip top, the outside diameter of the blank where the tip top is different from where you broke it off. So your tip tops have to come in different tube sizes to fit on different sizes of blanks.
Sure.
A lot of guys go down to Fleet Farm and they find the two sizes that fit their rod, and they go home and they break it off, and now they don't fit anymore. So it's a good idea to have different amount of tube sizes for your tip tops.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you, Buzz. I know I feel a lot more confident if I want to go out on these trips, and that I'll be able to handle a situation such as a rod, well, an eye break. I break a rod. Is there any quick fixes for that?
No.
Call your builder.
Yes.
Bring two.
Order a new one.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully, I know it definitely helped me. I hope it helps some of the people that are watching, and thank you very much. You do incredible work.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome.
I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this helps you out with a fishing trip if you do have an accident.
Excellent.